I think it's great. I think that's a really helpful step, and it is something that that I'm thankful that has been put in place. I will also remind people who have traveled, whether you're Canadians who've come back to BC from traveling in the U.S. or anywhere outside of Canada, that you are, even if you are an essential worker, you still must obey our concerns around making sure that you obey the quarantine order and self-isolation. So a healthcare worker who has traveled to visit somebody who comes back must self-isolate, whether it's under the federal quarantine order or the provincial orders. And I'm saying this quite emphatically today because it's become, I've become aware of people who have traveled to the U.S. and are not, do not believe that they were subject to the requirements to self-isolate when they came back. And that is not correct. You are. The exemptions to the quarantine order, the federal quarantine order, mean that you are allowed to come back into the country. It does not mean you are relieved from the obligation of taking the precautions that we need so that you're not exposing your family and your community potentially.
Well, I'm tempted to answer what Dr. Henry said, but I'll add to that of course, we're delighted with that the federal government has taken the step. That you'll know that the Premier has been a strong advocate for such action. He regularly communicates that directly to the Prime Minister, both in their bilateral discussions and at discussions amongst premiers and the Prime Minister. So we're pleased with that. What more can be done? I want to join Dr. Henry in delivering the message, particularly for people traveling within Canada. It is not appropriate ever to get on a plane and travel sick right now. It's just not appropriate ever. And there can be issues and discussions with the airlines about manifests and so on. That is an individual responsibility. The screening at the airport, we would hope that the screening that takes place on flights from, say, Toronto to Vancouver would also reinforce that. But practically speaking, we want to deliver that message. That is also true for people who visit us by car from other provinces, say from Alberta to, I don't know, Salmon Arm or Kelowna or Vancouver. That, again, it is not appropriate in these times to travel sick, and it is absolutely necessary when you're visiting our province, just as it is for British Columbians who might visit other provinces, to follow the rules that you ought to follow at home, but in any event, follow the rules we have in British Columbia. I think we obviously have to continue, as you would understand, to extend limits on visits, the current limits to essential workers between Canada and the United States, that I would hope that would continue to be extended, and that we would continue to make the case and to ensure that people traveling within Canada are aware of their responsibilities with respect to travel, because it's critically important for all of us, for every province. This is a world pandemic and it's a Canadian pandemic, and we have to act that way and act respectfully. And we, as British Columbians, of course, we expect to be gracious hosts, but we also expect people to come here to follow the rules and regulations of British Columbia.